Maybe you.
Go to the topic.
You brought this up. Somebody emailed us saying something about this of
Yes.
Carl Jung not really agreeing with Myers-Briggs. Anyway, so taking a run at this a little bit, it's been very interesting to kind of see some of this. So one thing, you and I were looking at the Myers and the Briggs. So like they're supposed to be INFJs and INFP or something like that. Like, I don't know. This looks like now that we're typing a lot of people.
Just guessing. We're guessing based on animatronics. So disclaimer here: don't give shit if we're wrong.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah,
they're all gonna. Everyone's gonna grab and run with it.
Everyone will freak the fuck out. Anyways.
Seems like masculine. Like we see this kind of look with like masculine,
thick skin,
masculine FE, like ENTP or INFJ. Masculine side,
ENTP,
and then
masculine.
Yeah, ENTP. Yeah. And then the daughter. Like this look we see, hold on, let me get a better one.
Yeah.
We do see this in the ISTJs.
Yes.
Like this definitely...
SIIs. That is, those are SIIs.
She seems like SI and not double observer.
That's exactly what I was saying.
Yeah.
So those are just some random, we could be completely wrong. Obviously, we're just going off of images. So, one or two images. So we could be completely off.
But we do see these looks. We do see these kind of looks. And, maybe if we don't have the time, we could actually do a little bit of research on...
Yeah, we could do some reading on their writings.
Find some writings or is there any...
see, look, this looks very double masculine.
I know, yeah.
Double masculine. And we do have some ENTPs that look very much like that face.
So, like we see in the current personality community of the other experts out there, is like ourselves in the early years, and maybe still to this day.
There you go.
Probably typed them fucking selves completely wrong. Myers and Briggs, our opinion. I bet if we looked into it, I would put my money on those two ladies probably typed themselves completely fucking
wrong.
That
would not surprise me. All right, on to this topic. Did Jung approve? Approval of Jung. First, I just wanted to start off by saying, who would approve? so an INTP getting his stuff fucked with, period, is not going to approve, period, and that's our assumption of him, is that he's a double feminine, TINE, consume, play,
and that
sleep.
We're as sure as we can be.
Right, exactly.
We have actually watched videos of
We've gone into that pretty extensively. Okay, so here's just a couple of differences. This is some of the things that I was like, oh God, that's right. He didn't come up with judging and perceiving, the Myers-Briggs system did. So that's a switch from his original stuff, which I would actually say one of the things that I see is not very accurate. Now, archetypally is, yes, but the judging and perceiving thing, I don't see it. So let me read this.
Yeah, thank you.
Let me go ahead and read this so I can get that out of the way. Judging and perceiving. The Myers-Briggs system was inspired by Jung's theory, which classified people by introversion versus extroversion, feeling, thinking, intuition, sensing, with the exception of judging versus perceiving. The component indicator like it has now, his labels also had very different meanings. The second one here, introvert versus extrovert. When Jung talks about extroversion and introversion, it has nothing to do with being social versus being a wallflower.
Same with our interpretation.
Right. For him, the extrovert is someone who is incredibly attuned to the demands of a social situation.
Depending on the letter, NE, SE, and etc.
Right. And I think he's actually talking about FE here. The introvert is someone who has such a kind of abiding sense of their own subjectivity that they're never going to change who they are or what they do
masculine TI
to meet any needs of external demand. So he perfectly seemed to see the TI versus that FE.
He did seem to see those coins better than the monkey functions.
Right, exactly. But that's exactly how we interpret it as well. We just take that introvert and extrovert coin and then slap it on all the rest of the functions.
We've done a lot of hard work of going like, okay, if we can understand TI, then let's do the math on all the rest. He seemed to have a harder time like doing that. Like he'll see one coin really clear, but then like kind of fade out when he gets to NI. He's like, I don't know what the hell.
He didn't seem to understand NI at all, and he disliked FI. He seemed to really dislike FI and not quite get TE.
I don't blame him.
But right.
So yeah, with Myers and Briggs, like introvert and extrovertism, very different.
Very different.
But I would say like feeling, thinking, intuition, and sensing, like I'm surprised that we've kind of come back around that a lot of our understanding of those four letters is very Myers-Briggs like. Like, we're not super far off when it comes to feeling versus thinking. If you go to research Myers-Briggs on the internet, feeling versus thinking, you see a readout, a list or whatever. It's like, That's kind of pretty much the same thing that we're seeing as well.
Right. I think where the problem comes from in a lot of these situations is that the way that the indicator made it look was that you are either feeling or thinking.
Yeah.
And that's where everyone started kicking their ass. And Jung made it very clear that, people kind of deal with the morphing
It got all dumbed down.
Being able to use other parts of their brain. Of course, they can use other parts of their brain, and it fluctuates over time.
And then real quick, judging and perceiving, we had to throw that one out as well because we saw, like, with the jumpers, it's like, you and I aren't J's.
Right, very quickly.
We're not NTJs.
Right.
We're not NT, and we're not...
And what is J?
Yeah, what is
it
J?
being on time?
But off the record, we still use J. Like for example, when we see people
That's true.
I'm sorry, your phrase the other day was Nazi tromping when we were on the trail.
Jaywalking.
I think you said that. You're like, probably a J because they're Nazi tromping, or an IJ or something like that.
An IJ.
Yeah. So it's like we'll still use, like, if you are very controlling and you're kind of the Myers-Briggs stereotype of, like, blaster,
right.
we'll throw the J at you.
That's true.
Or like, why is this idiot late? Well, they're a fucking P. So we'll use it like derogatory.
We do. We use it as slang.
But it's not a coin. It's not universal. It's not something we can track. We can track feeling, thinking, intuition, sensing. We can track introvertism, extrovertism on the coins.
Right.
Or,
human needs.
Right.
Yeah,
we
that's
can't.
how we got
There's no judging or perceiving.
Right.
Thanks for these kick-ass words, by the way.
Right. Really good. Okay. So let's go down to some sort of evidence. I thought this was really great. There's an article on the internet that talked about some misleading letter from Jung on Myers-Briggs typology. So let me just read this.
Oh, God.
And then we can talk about it. In 1950, Myers sent Jung details of the questionnaire she was developing and asked to visit him. His secretary, Marie, blah, 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 sent 2 replies. The first was a letter that said he was sick.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I'm sick.
And we tell our secretary to do the same thing.
Right.
Sick of your fucking bullshit.
I'm sick. I can't. The second was a written letter soon after, signed by Jung, most likely without him even reading it. Let me read this and see if this is coming from an INTP.
Sound if this is masculine TI here.
Right. Thank you very much for kindly sending me your interesting questionnaire and the equally interesting description of your results. Yeah. As you have given the matter a great deal of thought, I think you have done so much in this direction that I am hardly capable of criticizing it or even knowing it better.
Sounds like a fucking J.
I know. There you go.
A DE.
A DE. For quite a long time, I haven't done any work along that line at all because other things have taken the foreground. They're straight bullshitting him.
This is what we do.
I know.
Sarah letters.
We call this Sarah.
I should say that any fortunate development of the indicator will prove a great deal of help. They're saying
help.
They're saying fuck off.
Yeah, they are.
I should have liked very much to see you, but I'm recovering from an illness. Wow, they fucking have got their scam down.
I know.
So Carl Jung most likely to ward off just the endless amount of stupid shit he had coming his fucking way.
Right.
Just told Marie Jean to fucking step up to the plate and like knock out a Sarah email, which is what we do all fucking day around here.
All the time.
Is just telling people what they want to hear so they fucking get off of you.
Go away. It's a go away. And so let me just read the rest of it. Why is this likely a Marie writing and not Jung?
Yeah, no shit.
Marie often took care of Jung's correspondence, writing, and paperwork, and her style was very polite and cordial. Jung's writings were usually either short agreeances or direct criticisms, usually full of theory. Yep. Also noting that in other occasions, Jung expressed his disapproval for the American interpretations of his theory. So
it's not TINE here.
Yeah, there's plenty of times where he's actually kind of, shit on them in interviews and stuff like that.
Which
Of course, he developed all this stuff. And then they kind of like took it.
You should do a test. Oh, okay.
If you're developing something and then somebody comes in, they like water it down and fuck it up. This is just kind of always the way that things happen.
Which if you do it right, you can scale it. So it's eventually you got to do it.
I know.
But unfortunately for Carl Jung, he had these 2 fucking crazy ladies do it, and then sold it to CPP or whatever. That's still around. These are still the people or the organization that owns Myers-Briggs or whatever.
Yeah, the CPP. So here's another interesting thing. In 1975, Isabel signed the indicator over to the Consulting Psychologist Press. They're the ones. This is what surprised me. They introduced the self-scoring form instead of having people send in their answers to be scored by computers or interpreted by trained psychologists. Isabel also had to shorten the questionnaire and make the type descriptions less dogmatic.
Oh man, we cranked that one up. You are a douchebag.
Apparently she didn't believe that anybody should have the answer keys. That sounds a little controlling, not to throw some functions in there. She really guarded them. She guarded them with her life.
Observer shit.
And she believed that you had to be someone who was fully versed in speaking the language of type before you could introduce it to other people. I think she'd probably be appalled if she saw the ways that the indicator was being used today.
I bet.
in which it's sold to people with no understanding of the theory behind it.
Right.
So that's a lot of what kind of ends up happening.
Yeah.
Is when you hand over your stuff to somebody else.
Looking at today, like the current Myers-Briggs is not from Isabel. It's not from Carl Jung.
Right.
They're influenced by them, but largely honed in from this is the sweet spot that you can sell to the public as well as still have that company alive. So
right, completely. That was kind of one of the things that I was seeing, like in the writings, they were talking about how that Isabel, the way that they designed it is that they were getting, like, they didn't get sued, but like they were getting like a lot of people jumping in and questioning and saying, this is so off because you have all of these students and all of these people taking this test, and it's either this or that. It's got to be wrong. You're wrong. It's wrong. You know, dumb and wrong. And therefore, it just morphed into, you know what? Type your fucking selves.
Yeah.
You type yourselves. Right. I'm tired of arguing with people. Everybody, there. And like, why did that settle? Well, because everyone accepts I typed my own self as whatever I saw myself type, and I'll just do it again. I'll just type myself again. I'll just go through that again. So you like... You know, we've gone through this our own selves. We're like, you know, coming out and telling people what type they are. You're going against the grain.
It doesn't work at scale. It doesn't work at scale.
Yeah, it doesn't work at scale.
Just a little, you know, stuff that's obvious to me. I'll just say it out loud because people are like, oh my God, that's fascinating. Like what we're going to consciously do over time. I don't know when exactly you'll see what degree, but eventually over time, because we're aware of this shit, we're going to own both roads. We're going to stay the TI road. We're going to stay the road where it's like, look, motherfuckers, I don't give a shit what the public or what your mom says. Like, we're going to continue to hone in the actual science and build the scale and trained operators and all that kind of stuff. We'll stay in that lane. Yeah. But we're fully aware that's not what is going to sell at scale. Right. The public is not, they're going to want to type themselves. They're going to want to do all this silly bullshit. And so it's like, knowing that will win out, we're not going to resist that or fight against that. We're going to we will embrace like self-typing tests and, you know, very subjective, type of like a, you know, a gateway drug versus, you know, you want to go play around with this shit like it's a fucking horoscope.
There you go.
I can't stop you.
Right, that.
You come to our TI thing and do it anyways, most people. So here, have your crack needles, go in crazy circles, be a subjective fucks. But those that want the more true stuff, it's over here. But it's like, it just comes down to identity.
Do exist.
If you're searching for it, they're like, oh, there's fine print at the bottom of their website that says everything above is a scam. Hey, dumbass, if you want the real shit. Not many people are going to go there, but those that want to will be there. But then fully aware that let the market do what it wants to do. Right. I don't agree with it, but the market wins.
Right.